I'm going to demonstrate a fractional and simple distillation. First, we're going to start out with a fractional distillation. With a fractional distillation, with any distillation, we're going to start with a heater and a flask so that we can distill over our compound or our solvent into a collection flask. I have a ring here supporting my heater, which is also supporting this round bottom flask here. I have this condenser here. When you have a condenser here between the flask and your three-way adapter, that means that we have a fractional distillation. From the three-way adapter, it's important that we make sure we have a thermometer in the right location. For the thermometer, you insert the thermometer into this rubber piece. So the bottom of the thermometer is coming out where this glass support is. Once we put this into the three-way adapter here, it's important that the bottom of the thermometer is just below where the entrance of our solvent is as it comes over. Next, we're going to add our condenser. It's important that you and your lab partner talk about this setup as you go so you can have help, because if you don't, you're probably going to drop and break this glassware. Once I have this condenser on, it's important that I put this blue clip on to support this. Gravity will obviously make this fall, especially if you don't have it clamped. It's important that you clamp it here and support it with this blue clip. With this glassware here, you can see that this part of the glass is wider than this. With this clip, you can see that this part of the clip is wider than this part of the clip. Now I have that clipped and it's stable, it's clamped and it's stable here. Next, we put on this last piece. And again, clamp that for stability. The larger part of the clip goes there, the smaller part goes on the small part of the glassware here. All right. Now we need to, when we distill this over and then we condense our liquid in this condenser here, liquid's going to fall through this piece. We need to collect that liquid in something. We have this already conveniently set up, and we're going to collect this liquid in an Erlenmeyer flask. The liquid will simply fall into this flask here. So now that we have our fractional distillation set up, we need to plug this heater into a heat source. You do not want to plug this heater directly into the wall. If you did, this would be at the max heat, and you would simply boil over your solvent and probably decompose most of the mixture you have in that flask. We need to plug this into a variac so we can regulate the amount of heat going to this heater. I plug this into the variac, then plug the variac into the wall, which I've already done. Now I turn the variac on and turn this on to about 50 or 60, depending on what experiment you're doing. All right. Like I talked about with this condenser, it's also important that we have liquids actually condensing in our condenser. Therefore, we need to be running water through this condenser before we start up. So first, I'm going to connect this hose here to the bottom of the condenser. We want water running through the bottom and up to the top. So I'm going to plug this part of the hose into the water faucet so that water is running through this hose into here and out here. Obviously, we need another hose here so that we're not simply running water into the hood. This hose will then just sit in the sink. All right, so now that we're all set up, we can go ahead and turn our variac on and start distilling. All right, now quickly, like I said, this is a fractional distillation. I want to show that a simple distillation is the same thing, except we do not have this column here. That means a lot of heights for what we have need to be adjusted. So one step at a time, you need to take this apart, again, so that you don't break the glassware. Now that we've taken this condenser off, you can see there are levels a little bit low here. The 125 milliliter Erlenmeyer flask may not fit under here. So we probably want to raise everything up slightly. So as I raise this, my lab partner is going to be raising that. And then we can raise our heater right underneath. And now we can collect in our flask. So right now we have shown a simple distillation setup. In your lab drawers, you may have a variac that looks a little bit different. This power mite is also a variac. Instead of plugging into this, if this is what you have in your drawer, you may need to plug into this power mite instead. This power mite has a cord here, which you plug into. And then this power mite also plugs into the wall. Now we turn our power mite on and start the setup. Also, we've shown this heating mantle here. It's quite possible that you're going to find another heating mantle that works. This heating mantle will also heat your flask. And this heating mantle is actually a little bit more efficient than the cloth heating mantle. With this heating mantle, again, we need to make sure we plug this into the power mite or variac. And again, we'd be ready to start our simple distillation.